of the body can become white, gray, or tan over time. That's how that form of decomposition over there. So this can actually take about 3 months. So depending on how much adipocere there is, you can see how long ago the person died. But again, it all depends on temperature and all kinds of other factors. And yeah, if people are not that fat, you can't always tell, and it doesn't always form. Okay, so that gives us more than a couple of days. It can give us, let's say, a week or two. But how long? How much? But after that, how can we tell? Well, for that we use forensic entomology. Entomology is the study of bugs. It's how the bugs, get to the dead body. You might have seen these things, like an animal had died and was left in the field. Over time, you see some maggots all over it. Well, it takes time for those maggots to appear. So it's and we can actually time it and find the amount of time that the person died based on how many bugs and what kind of bugs there are. So what happens is we're going to think about what we call the blowfly. It has a 1 month life cycle. So first thing it does is it gets to the dead body. It might take about 24 hours because the blowfly needs dead bodies. That's how its life cycle is. It finds a dead body of, let's say, a horse. I don't know. It finds a place to lay its eggs in there. The eggs will hatch and become larvae. The larva will eat away at whatever flesh there is in there and grow bigger and bigger. And eventually it'll become to the pupa stage, like it has a cocoon or it's whatever. It's at that stage, and after a while it breaks out of that cocoon, the pupa stage, and becomes a mature fly. So that takes about a month. So what they do is they examine the dead body that has all these larvae or maggots or whatever are in there, and they see, are there any eggs in there? If there are none, very often it was pretty quickly. It was like within a day or so. If there are eggs, but they didn't get to the larva stage, they know how long that takes. Let's say a week. The larva can be there for, let's say, 2 weeks. The pupa. So again, they see what's going on. Are there larvae and no pupa? Or larvae and pupa? Or maybe we can actually see the broken pupa skins or shells, and we can tell, okay, it got past the pupa stage, and we can sometimes see mature flies coming out. So we know it's been a month since this body was dead. So that is one way they can tell using forensic entomology. Using the bugs, studying the bugs, they can find out when the body died. It's actually a lot more important than you might think. The PMI, that's the post-mortem interval. It's how long it took for the body, to die. No, it's not how long it took between the body's death and when we find it. So the first thing we can look at are these blowflies. So we see, are there blowflies hanging around? And what stage they're in? Egg stage, the larva stage, or already grown, already mature blowflies. After the blowflies come species that deliberately look for blowflies and feed on them. So whatever these might be. They specifically feed on blowflies. So if they're there, it must have been they noticed that after the blowflies had their 1 month cycle, these other creatures realized that, and they found the blowfly, and they came. So after this month, let's say, of the blowflies, these other creatures came. It takes them, let's say, a couple of weeks to get there. So again, we look for these other species. So after that come the omnivores, people that eat all kinds of stuff. Not just the blowflies, but the species that come on the blowflies, and maybe even the plant matter. And finally, after this, we see creatures and like bugs that have absolutely nothing to do with the dead body. They just wander around, and they have to wander over this dead body. So, because we'll start off with the dead body. Nothing's on the dead body. Nothing. Then the blowflies come. So that's about a month. Then the other creatures, again, all they have there are the blowflies. Then you have the other creatures crawling on the body, looking for the blowflies. Then they have the creatures that just eat anything, and finally you have the creatures that have nothing to do with themselves, just wandering around, and they just happen to end up on the dead body. So when they see that, they can figure out how long it took, how many months it took for the dead body, for the dead body to reach the stage. Which means how long ago did this body die? What's the time between what you have now and the dead body dying? The post-mortem interval. Now, it's not as easy as you might think because it depends on the number and how many wounds. Because the blowflies, they look for breaks in the skin. It's easier to get their eggs in there, and so they can eat so the larva can eat the meat inside. How big the wounds are, temperature, of course. Sometimes it's too hot for the blowflies to get there or to travel to it or to tell. Humidity, how maybe there are no blowflies in the area. I mean, like in the Arctic, you're not going to find them. So, and how populous are these blowflies? Now, I say blowflies because that's the simplest one, but every region can have its own kind of fly that's not exactly the blowfly, but it's a fly that lays eggs in dead bodies. You're going to find that pretty much anywhere you're going to find flies. So it might not be a blowfly, it might be a different species, but the forensic examiner, the forensic entomologist will know that about the region. There's other information you get from bugs too. Why are they congregate? Why are these maggots, let's say, hanging around the arms? There must have been wounds around the arms. That's why the blowflies were laying their eggs there, and the maggots were all over the place, over there, specifically over there, because that's where the wounds were. So we can't see them. You always hear a bunch of maggots eating away at the dead body. But if they're the maggots, in certain patterns, let's say 3 different places on the arms, it's likely those were defensive wounds. So we might know what happened. The person was fighting back. Another thing we get from the bugs is that if you take the larva, let's say, and remember, they're eating whatever was in the dead body. So if the drug's in the dead body, the bugs are going to get the drugs too. So we can blend the drugs, gather all the bugs that were eating the parts of the dead body, grind them up in a blender, and analyze this stuff for drugs. So we can actually see whether the person was taking drugs, even though it's been many months after, maybe not many months, but even for a long time after the body was decomposing. An interesting case here is the Danielle van Dam case. Her body was found, I think it was Arizona, I don't remember where, but anyway, in February 27, 2002, her body was found. February 27th. She's a 7-year-old girl, and it was decomposing. Now, they found a suspect, and they found her blood and fingerprints on that suspect's property. So, it looks like an open and shut case. Now, how did her blood and fingerprints get there? Must have been he kidnapped her, and he dumped her body wherever it was found. So, it looks like he did it. The problem is that this suspect, he was suspected even before. I think it was an offender or something, whatever it might have been. So police had been watching him since February 4th. Okay? Remember, the body was found February 27th. Police had been watching him since February 4th. He did not commit any crimes from February 4th on on. So it looks like it's no longer an open and shut case. Her blood and fingerprints were found on his property. But the crime could not have occurred after February 4th. He was being watched. The forensic entomologists, they analyzed the body and the bugs and all that, and they said, something? Let's say there are no pupa, there are no live blowflies there. There's only larva stage. She had to have died between 14th and the 16th. Remember, it was found the 27th. They were thinking about the 14th and the 16th. She had only been dead 2 weeks. Because the blowflies were outside only in the larva stage. Only 2 weeks. That's what they were claiming. So, if so, 2 weeks before February 27th is not February 4th. So this guy has a perfect alibi. If the blowflies and the forensic entomologist